if you're an affiliate owner that is struggling, I would not rely on CrossFit or Dave Castro coming and saving you.
CrossFit's awesome.
What is up, you sexy beasts? Happy Monday. Another great week full of opportunities to grow, to be better human beings, to love on others. And I'm happy to be here with you. Thank you for joining in on the About Last Week podcast. This is a weekly show. It's around a 20-minute to 30-minute video. It's also on Spotify, just so you know. So if you don't have time to watch the video, but maybe you can listen to the podcast while you drive, it is on Spotify. Just search About Last Podcast and you should find it there. And we just recap everything that's happened over the last week in the CrossFit space. There's a lot that happens, and it's not always easy to keep up with it all. Today's a great example. Last week there were two very interesting and important videos, podcasts, interviews, and that was the semi-final press conference by CrossFit HQ, CrossFit Games, and there was also the return interview with Dave Castro on the Semifinal podcast. Both of these were about an hour long, and so I know for you guys, it's not always possible to listen to these things from start to finish, and the idea behind this show is just to recap the most important points, get you up to date with where things are at. So I think it's a great show. What do you think? If you think it's a great show, if you enjoyed today, if you enjoy any of my videos, be sure to join the tribe and subscribe to the channel. That is the best thing you can do for me. It's just to make sure you subscribe and join the tribe. Okay, let's jump into the show. Let's start with the CrossFit semifinal press conference. Last weekend was the first weekend that we did not have a semifinal. The semifinals are done. We're having a 2-weekend break. So this coming weekend, there's no semifinals. And then next weekend, we have the last chance qualifier. And then on to the games, baby. I am going to be covering Maddie Sturt from the Oceania, Australia region. So stay tuned for that content. That'll be next weekend. And I'll also be, while I'm there with Maddie, I'll also get some good content with Jay Crouch about his training and lead up to the CrossFit Games. But there was a press conference run by the Games, which is great. They are committing to doing more of these press conferences to open up to outside media and get some questions answered. So there was a question around drug testing. They asked who was on the call. It was Adrian Bosman and Justin Berg. So they asked them, how long will it take for the drug testing from semifinals to be made public? And they said that it takes 10 to 14 days for them to get the results back from the lab. Out of those results, there are a small group of athletes that had some adverse results and need secondary testing, or they can appeal their results. They will then conduct the secondary testing or look at the appeals, and once that is resolved, they will release all the results from all the semifinals all at once. So that's interesting. So we are going to see, obviously we're going to see the drug testing be made public, but there is a bit of a process, and they did mention that there was a small group of athletes that would need secondary testing or showed adverse testing results. So we'll have to wait and see what that is and who falls in that small group and whether their appeals are being turned over or held. What are those adverse results? What does that mean? So that'll be interesting in the coming weeks. Then they talked about the success of the semifinals, and those semifinals that seem to be succeeding or did really well are the ones that follow the template, similar to the Torian here in Australia, where with the main event, the main semi-final event, there is also a bunch of other divisions that compete on the same weekend. So there are teens, there are intermediate athletes, there are masters athletes, maybe adaptive divisions. There are other community events happening at the same venue on the same weekend. What this does, it brings a lot more people into the venue. It's a great thing for the vendors, great thing for the spectator experience. It just elevates the whole event. And so hopefully all the other semifinals who are not that well attended perhaps can take note and next year do the same thing where they actually incorporate the community with some other events on site as well. Obviously that is logistically a challenge, but I think it elevates the event, the community experience, and CrossFit Games as a whole. So that was one of the comments. They kind of not tiptoed, but didn't really touch on the fact that the events weren't standardized. Justin did say that he loves the idea of these outside event organizers, what they are doing, the ownership they're taking of these events, and the flavor they bring into the events. CrossFit seems to like that and want to continue pushing and leaning into that direction. I think that's great, but I don't think the workouts have to be different. I still feel like the workouts being standardized across the board is a good call. I would think the majority of athletes and spectators would appreciate that, and then these events can bring their own flavor and their branding and the on-site experience, the vendor village, the other events that happens around. We've talked about this before. There's many ways that an event can add their own flavor to that weekend, but I think the programming should be standardized. Then, what else? They talked about the judges. One of the criticisms of the season, and not only this season, but all the seasons in the past, has been the inconsistency in judging or the lack of judging standards. And some people have called for judges to be paid. Now, one thing I did not know that I found out through Boz's comment on the press conference was that at the games level, the judges are paid and have been for a long time. So anyone that judges at the CrossFit Games gets paid, apparently. That's great news. Also, those involved in the review process, the video review process, they are also paid. But then the judges at the semifinals, they are volunteers. The judges, that the athletes kind of pull in to help them during the quarterfinal online stages, the open, obviously those are all volunteers. But it was interesting to find out and to hear that the judges at the games are being paid. I was under the assumption that maybe they just get some free Noble gear and a free ticket to the games and a great experience, It's certainly something I would do for free and volunteer. And obviously we can go on and talk about the value in volunteering and giving your time for free and all that. There is lots of value in that. But I do think at the games level, it is very cool to hear that the judges are taken very serious. They are the best in the business and they do get paid for their work. So that's very cool. Then they talked about the CrossFit Liaisons. These are individuals assigned by CrossFit to be at the semi-final events, to basically be the bridge between the athletes and the events. Because the events are given a lot of responsibility. The kind of buck stops of the event at the moment. CrossFit gives a lot of responsibility to them when it comes to making the calls, whether we cut the ropes, whether we change the height of the rings. Those calls are actually to be made by the events. So anything that you saw during semifinals that you weren't happy with when it came to those decisions, it's actually not the CrossFit Games. They actually put that responsibility for this season anyway. They've put that on the event organizers to make that call. And so when the call was made to not cut the ropes at the MAC or wherever it was the event organizers who made that call. And so the CrossFit Liaison is a person that's on site that should be relaying information between the athletes and the event. And from what it sounds like it was a great initiative to have that person at these events, but no one actually understood what their role was. No one actually engaged them effectively. And so next year, hopefully the athletes would understand the role of the CrossFit Liaison better and be quicker to kind of get them involved, get them chatting to the event organizers. Because let's be real, everyone wants the same thing here. The event organizers, the athletes, the spectators, CrossFit Games, we all want the event to go well, for no one to get hurt, for everything to be fair. Everyone's on the same page. We're all on the same team here. So I don't imagine any event would be opposed to getting feedback from the athletes through the liaison. It's just a matter of the athletes actually understanding that that person's there. I remember being at the Torian brief, and they did introduce the CrossFit Liaison, but it was very brief, and there wasn't a whole lot of detail around what their role was. The liaison kind of stood up and just said, hey, if you have any, queries or issues, I'm here, I'm your middleman, which maybe that should be enough. I don't know. But it sounds like the athletes didn't really understand what that person's role was So that's the CrossFit Liaison at semifinals. And lastly, Bryn Fukowski, he was on the call. There were 3 athletes. I think it was Lazard, Jukic. I can't remember now. Anyway, Bryn Fukowski was asked to give some advice to some rookies at the games this year. There are a lot of rookies at the games this year. We have 15 on the female side, 15 rookies qualifying for the very first time, and 12 on the men's side. I'll pop it up on the screen here, but here's Brent's advice to those rookies. My piece of advice is don't try to beat me. It's not going to happen. Laughs with a smile. No, I would say the weekend is much longer than any of the other competitions you're used to, and the competition field is so much deeper. You need to be ready to just continually pound the stone and grind away during the weekend because it's a very long, grueling weekend, and mentally it can break you when you might be expecting a certain thing out of a workout or out of a day or out of the competition in general. And it is not going to give you that. You need to create the weekend you want to have based on your own internal metric of effort and not on some number of where you feel you deserve to finish. If you do that more based off effort, I think you're going to have a lot better success as well when it comes to the leaderboard. There we go. Wise words from Mr. Fukowski. I think it's very true. I don't think many athletes understand how grueling that weekend is and how much of a beatdown it really is. So there you go. Bryn Fukowski instilling his wisdom. Those are the main points that I got from the press conference. Then we had Dave Castro on the Sevan podcast, which was awesome. I think, Sevan's the perfect person. He's got that relationship for it to be more relaxed, more honest, more open. So I really enjoyed it. Let's start with Dave's new role. So Sevan asked him, what is your new role at CrossFit? And the overarching kind of term is, I am an ambassador for the community, a community ambassador. That's very broad, and it sounds like it goes into every area. So he's an ambassador for the community when it comes to the sport of fitness, the CrossFit Games, an ambassador for the community when it comes to the affiliate level and how that's operated and how that's going, at the seminar training level. So at every level, he's there to be an ambassador for the community and give feedback and make changes and help steer the ship in the right direction. So that's cool. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and how that actually shapes itself. It sounds like it's very open and fluid at the moment, and I'm sure Dave will bring some structure around that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what areas he takes on seriously and intently. Whether he does it with all the areas or whether he focuses mostly on affiliates or mostly on training or a bit of both. And will he actually have any influence and any say? What does it mean to be an ambassador for the community at the sport level? The feedback that the community have when it comes to the games, how much of an impact will he have? Will he be able to, will he feel comfortable, and will he be able to make changes there? So that was the first thing, is trying to kind of define his role, and it does sound at the moment like it is still very broad, which could be great. One thing I do want to say here, especially to affiliate owners, because Dave, in his weekly review video last week, he spoke about these meetings he had with what sounded like affiliate owners. And the two main points he brought up was regionals and the level 2 cert. Those were the two main talking points or concerns that affiliate owners had. And I kind of thought about it after making my video about it last week. I was like, are you serious? Like, are those the concerns that affiliate owners have? Is that what they think about? Because when I was running an affiliate, that was the last thing on my mind, was whether we're running regionals or sanctionals or semifinals or whatever you want to call them. That was not a concern. My concern was, how do I retain my members? How do I train my staff and help them perform to a higher level? There were so many other things that I was concerned about that wasn't the regionals or the training, level 2 training, cert. So that was, when I thought about it, that was a bit baffling. I was like, as an affiliate owner, like, if there's any affiliate owners watching, is that something that's actually a concern to you? Like, do you actually care about regionals and games? Because I don't feel like you do. I don't feel like I ever did. And one thing I did want to say is that if you're an affiliate owner that is struggling, I would not rely on CrossFit or Dave Castro coming and saving you. Because the reality is, Dave Castro is not going to come to your gym and make your retention calls. CrossFit Games, CrossFit HQ, they're not going to come to your gym and train your staff for you. at the end of the day, you are responsible for your success at your affiliate. You have to take that ownership and accept that the success of your business has got nothing to do with CrossFit HQ. It really doesn't. That's just how I see it. It's like it's all on you. It's the level of excellence that you instill in your staff and your members every day. That's what's going to make your business thrive. And so blaming CrossFit that they're not doing enough, I've never seen that as a valid reason for your affiliate not thriving. Even if they did more, what can they do? They can give you a bunch of free resources. They can give you some great systems to follow or some great training resources. But at the end of the day, you still have to implement those systems. You still have to train your staff physically on those training methodologies. Like just the resources alone is not going to save your business. They can give you good outlines on how to budget and work on the finances and all that stuff, but it's still in your hands to actually action. So my approach has always been like, hey, my affiliation fee that I pay, that gives me the CrossFit name on my door, and that's all I want. I love the brand CrossFit and what it stands for, and I feel like it's recognized enough. Like I feel like that's where the real value is, that it's a recognized brand, worldwide, international, and it's not going anywhere. It's been around for a long time, and it's not going anywhere. There are fitness fads and fitness brands that have come and gone. CrossFit is not going anywhere. And the reason it's not going anywhere is because the methodology truly is the best way to train the general population. It is genuinely the most effective, most efficient way to train a person for real life. Full stop. And that's why it's not going anywhere, is because the methodology is legit. And the people that tend to open CrossFit gyms are people that truly care. And so for those two reasons alone, CrossFit's not going anywhere, and therefore the brand, the name is valuable, and I'm more than happy to pay $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 US to have that name on my door. So I just wanted to point that out. Like if you were part of any other franchise model, man, the amount of money you have to pay to be a franchise of any other sort, it's significantly more than your affiliation fee. So yeah, I think be grateful that it's not $50,000. Be grateful that it is whatever it is, $3,000, $5,000. I don't know. I think there's enough value in the name itself, and then just taking ownership for your success. Okay, I won't carry on there. I'll leave that there. But hopefully there's some affiliate owners watching that are encouraged and inspired by that. Then Sevan asked Dave, Andrew Hiller. Have you heard of Andrew Hiller? What do you think of Andrew Hiller? And Dave said that, look, I haven't watched any of his videos, but I've heard about the guy. I know what he's doing. I know what he stands for. And Dave said that he is absolutely necessary in the sport. And his reason was that the sport of CrossFit is entertainment. It's entertainment. And in any sport, there needs to be critics. There need to be people that criticize the organizers, the events, the athletes, the judges, the coaches. There needs to be someone like that. It is absolutely necessary because it's entertainment, and it elevates the experience for the viewers, the people that partake, and it keeps people accountable. So Dave thought that Hiller was necessary, and people like him had their place in the sport. So that was interesting. On that though, he did say to Sevan that he had been too critical of the people at HQ, at CrossFit. And it was cool to kind of see Dave talk about himself as being part of CrossFit, not separate from it. I know that seems obvious because he's been employed by them again, but I thought that maybe there might still be a bit of separation in the way he viewed himself, but he very much talked as if he was part of the team. He was standing up for the team. He was reassuring Sevan and the listeners that the people at CrossFit, the team, they are striving for excellence. They do want what's best. There's no one out there at HQ that are intentionally bringing things down, intentionally malicious. And that was cool to hear. So he did say that when it comes to the sport of CrossFit, it's entertainment, and there needs to be criticism, and go nuts, do that. But when it comes to CrossFit HQ and the team there running things, he did encourage Sevan to maybe just think twice before throwing rocks, and instead to just reach out to Dave. Now that he is the community ambassador, he's happy to listen and bring feedback. So that's cool. He asked Dave if he will be at the games. He asked him if he's programming the games at all and if he's going to be at the games. And I could just tell how hard it was for Dave. He birthed, like he said in the podcast, he birthed the CrossFit Games. It was his baby. And so for him, it'd be very hard, he said, extremely hard to be there. Not to disrespect Adrian Bosman or the team that's running the games or the athletes or anyone. just because of his own issues, that it would be extremely difficult for him to be there. And so he wasn't sure if he would be at the games this year, and even if he'd be watching if he wasn't there. So, I can imagine, starting something from scratch, seeing it grow to what it is today, being the person responsible for that growth and for creating that. Obviously, there's teams around him, but, he is the one who instigated it and who kind of nurtured it to what it is today. So it must be extremely hard to see someone else take responsibility for that. Lastly, he talked about, which was really interesting to me, the reasoning behind firing the media team, the reasoning behind shutting down the CrossFit social challenge like social channels like Instagram and Facebook. I don't know if you guys remembered, but Greg Glassman shut down all the social media platforms for CrossFit at one stage. He deleted the Instagram account, he deleted the Facebook account, and they started back from scratch, from zero, a year or two ago. I can't remember exactly when it was, but he talked about the rationale behind that, and it was super interesting. So Greg's rationale was that we, CrossFit HQ, we don't need to tell the story. The community, the people that follow CrossFit will tell the story for us. So again, his rationale was, we HQ, we don't have to tell the story. The people that love the sport, outside media, they will tell the story for us. The likes of the Morning Chalk Up. At the time, obviously, we didn't have people like the Buttery Bros. We didn't have Sevan. We did have Craig Ritchie. He's an OG. But people like Craig Ritchie, people like the Morning Chalk Up, external media will tell the story for us. Let's shut down our efforts to push out the story and let the community tell the story themselves. And I think it's been both. I'm yet to decide whether it's been successful or not. It's definitely been successful, and that channels like myself have popped up. Obviously, the Buttery Bros got birthed out of them being fired. Sevan's podcast got birthed out of him being fired. So, yes, we are telling the story of CrossFit. I see myself as an ambassador of CrossFit. I love everything about CrossFit. And so I see my channel and many other channels, Nate's channel, the Buttery Bros, the Morning Chalk Up, Sevan, Hiller. I see all these channels as telling the story of CrossFit and spreading the word and spreading the love. And I do feel like the reach wouldn't be anywhere near as far, and not as many people would be engaged and in love with CrossFit if it wasn't for these channels. I genuinely believe that. But why not both? Why not both? Why not have us, the external media, telling these stories? Why not us, and why not have CrossFit do it? That's even better. So, sure, encourage and champion those who are, trying to progress the name of CrossFit, us, but also tell your own stories and put some of your profits and your money into telling the stories as well. So I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think it can be both. One thing I will say is that it's all about the type of media. I think now athletes are good enough at social media, at videos and photos. They've got enough people that want to take photos of them. There's enough photographers out there in the space and videographers to show off who they are, tell their stories. I think CrossFit should solely focus on telling the stories of the real heroes, the CrossFit coaches and the CrossFit affiliate owners. I remember when I started my CrossFit affiliate, the thing that inspired me was these videos that CrossFit used to do where they did box tours. They used to go through and interview the box owner, tell their story, show their box. And man, I couldn't get enough of these videos to see what the box owners created, why they put the rig there, what kind of equipment they had and bought and deemed important. What was the layout of their affiliate? How do they make this space work? And then just hearing the passion in the CrossFit affiliate owners' voices and the stories they can tell about their members that have been transformed. Man, those videos are the videos that inspired me. And sure, they may not get the millions of views that, a video of a high-level CrossFit athlete doing some kind of cool movement might get. But I think the depth of impact that those videos have, that kind of content has, is what's amazing. It's what really counts. And it's hard to measure that depth, isn't it? Because we just use the vanity metrics. We just use the likes and the shares and the views on social. But was it just a moment of coolness? A moment of like, wow, that's a cool movement, or that's a good-looking athlete, or whatever it is. Whereas the impact that some of these videos had on me are still holds true to me. Just the level of excellence that these people that are running CrossFit gyms have, it still inspires me to this day. So yeah, I think placing more value on those. And, Sivan mentions in his podcast that Dave used to hound him that, hey, we need more ads. We need more ads showcasing the affiliates during the CrossFit Games. Like more when the breaks are on, we need more footage, more media of CrossFit affiliates and the coaches. And I agree. Bring that back, baby. Maybe CrossFit should put all their efforts there. Let the athletes show off their own stuff. And let us do our thing. So there you go. A nice full show. Lots to talk about. I reckon this was my best one yet. I really enjoyed that. I was passionate about a lot of those points. Hope you guys found that interesting and informative. Okay, team. That's it. Make sure you subscribe. Stay sexy. Keep roaring love. And I'll see you Wednesday for a little training vlog. Okay. Bye-bye.
CrossFit's awesome.